Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production channel here at YouTube, and welcome to another album of the week. This, of course, is episode number 63. So for this week's album pick goes to the second full-length album from Florida's Axe, Living on the Edge, which was released back in 1980. Don't know what month or day it was released in 1980, but it was released in 1980. Now, like I said, this is their second full-length album. Their self-titled debut album came out in 1979. Now, when it comes to Axe, I think most people would be familiar with their last two albums, which were released on MCA Records, which were Offering and Nemesis, and which, of course, those are probably the more common albums, especially Nemesis. And that's how I actually found out about this band to begin with. It was due to one of my friends over at Forces of Steel, Painkiller, the admin over there. He had picked up a copy of Nemesis many years ago, by 2013, I believe, 2012, 2013, around that year. And that's how I even found out about Axe to begin with. But again, didn't know anything about them. But I think it was last year I then began really getting into this band, obtaining basically Nemesis, Offering, and then the first two. But here we are with, of course, Living on the Edge. Now, again, as far as when comparing this album to at least the two albums that came after this, Offering and Nemesis, this one definitely has more of a 70s feel. Think more of somewhere between Styx, especially the wooden nickel era Styx, meaning also the really early Styx sounds from the early, the mid 70s, definitely the 70s era Journey, and of course even a little bit of pinch of REO Speedwagon, just for a little extra measure, since I actually tend to also really kind of draw some comparisons to them on this album for sure. But it's still a little heavier compared to at least your normal fucking REO Speedwagon album. So here we go, Living on the Edge. Again, expanding again on the very first album, which was definitely another great album in its own right. Definitely been really getting more and more into that album. But this one definitely seems to really kind of heighten up the punch a little bit more on this one in terms of the style, and definitely seems to give a lot of hints of where they were going to go in albums like Offering and Nemesis. I mean, the album definitely kicks off with the title track, which is a little bit of I wouldn't say slow, but it definitely has a little more, a bit of a lower tempo, heavy or hard rockin' sound to it. Very typical, I guess, of bands like the of this ilk, but it's definitely a pretty good track in its own right. I really dig this one. Fantasy of Love is probably the most typical of these kind of bands. I mean, this definitely wouldn't have been out of place on a Journey album. However, due to the production being not so slick and not so overly produced, it's got a bit of a heavy sound. It definitely was definitely kind of giving that bar sound to it. Definitely definitely not a bad track at all. I definitely dig it. First Time, Last Time. Again, this one is one of the more slower songs, but it's got a real great atmosphere and mood to it that I also definitely dig. It's definitely another favorite of mine. Carry On is back to the more upbeat sound. This one really does sound like it wouldn't. It really gives you even more of a better idea what they're going to head into with albums like Offering and Nemesis. It definitely has that real, I wouldn't say happy sound, but it just has that kind of real classic, upbeat, melodic rock feel to it. Definitely, I would say is a great track. Run the Gauntlet, however, is a absolute personal favorite. This is a great hard rocker for this album. I can draw comparisons to Oh god, for some reason I tend to draw comparisons to maybe White Spirit, but that's just for some reason, probably because of they're on MCA, and this copy of Living on the Edge has the rainbow MCA label, which is very more associated with the White Spirit album for me, and maybe Fist. But definitely, it's a great hard rocker. Dig this one a lot. But this track, of course, ends the first half of the album, which would be like side A. Opening up side B, or at least here the second half of the album, is a cover of "I Can't Help Myself," Sugar Pie Honey Bunch, which is it's a fine cover. It's not really the most exceptional track on this album. If anything, it's probably almost filler. But it's a fine, decent cover. But it's definitely not really anything to really talk about. I kind of forgot the person who actually originally did it, but at this point it probably serves no point at all. So we're just gonna move on here. Just Walk Away is again kind of similar to like Carry On in some ways. It's a fine melodic rock track. Let Me Know, however, on the other hand, it has more of a Thin Lizzy-esque vibe to this one. Definitely wouldn't be completely out of place on Bad Reputation or even Jailbreak. It just has that kind of feel going on for this one, and it's actually another favorite of mine. A little slower, a little bluesier, but it's a great track, a personal favorite for me too. Savor Love is back to the more something like Carry On. It's definitely kind of the typical fucking track that you expect from Axe in terms of you're familiar with the albums like Offering and Nemesis. For a Little While ends the album, and it's probably again the most happiest-go-luckiest way you could end albums like this. I'm just guilty of liking this shit at this point. I just really dig this kind of shit at this point. So there you go. There's the Living on the Edge, and it actually clocks in around a little over 32 minutes. It's really not a long album. It's definitely a relatively short album for this. But you know what? I think it works for this. It gets to the point and doesn't overstay much of its welcome. It's definitely a solid album, and definitely one of my favorites actually from this band. Actually, this is probably my absolute favorite from Axe. With Offering and the first album coming in somewhere in second, maybe as a tie. So with that, definitely a great album. If you're definitely familiar with Axe, this isn't a bad album to really try out. If you're definitely into, again, the really Styx albums and the really early Journey albums from the 1970s, at least the very first two albums with Steve Perry on vocals, which were released in like 78 and 79. If you like those two albums, and you like also a little bit of REO Speedwagon, and do dig Offering Nemesis from Axe, this is definitely a good album to get into. But if you're not familiar with Axe, I probably would say you probably could start off with Offering, but if you're not into the sort of almost heavy Bon Jovi kind of sound, I mean, I'll say Offering is probably a lot heavier than your typical Bon Jovi album, but I tend to draw a lot of comparisons when I get into that album later on within the year, because I think 1982, by 2022, I'll probably have Offering as the album of the week spotlight, and I'll probably go into more depth on that one, and where I probably make comparisons to Bon Jovi for that. But if you don't dig that and like a more 70s sound, this is definitely a great album to start with, before also checking out the first album. So with that, I hope you all enjoyed this Every Thrash. I say I'm out. I'll see y'all later. Take care, everyone.